Welcome back, everybody, to Manny's Irish Pub Sports Betting Show. I'm your host, John Ryan, and of course, everybody knows effing Tony of Wager Talk, the all-time money maker for his clients in NFL and college football. Anything on the gridiron or anything that having to do with iron, he is
baseball.
very, very good at.
And baseball.
Baseball too. Yeah, it's true. They don't use iron anymore.
Well, it wasn't a great season, but it was better than some, I guess. Today I have an early play on the. I liked Houston. I liked McCullers today a lot, and I was worried about Rodon. They've been pampering him, because of the shoulder. So it looks like to me they pulled him in the third inning from what I'm looking at right now. I haven't had time to watch much of it, but I'll look at it after the game's over. We'll watch a quick recap.
I actually have it on. It's 5-1. Center fielder Myers got hurt, and while I was watching it, he crashed into the wall, shoulder, and then Chas McCormick.
Yes.
That I can't say enough good things about that family. Period. Especially the parents. Got to know them during college baseball days, and my son played with his twin.
Really?
And there was a lot of people that actually thought the twin was better.
Well,
but he's incredibly fast, and he's playing center field at the Major League Baseball level, and he started game 2. So I think he's probably going to get a bit of a raise maybe next year.
Well, they've been platooning Myers and McCormick, and that Tucker, he's had a good. That kid's a player too. It's Houston. Since I think it was back in 2012 when Houston basically they took all the shelves and everybody involved and everything was dumped, and they did a rebuild. And in 2015, they had the young kids. That's when the McCullers, who was playing tonight, and Correa were rookies. They'd been in the system about 3 years, but they were rookies that year. Correa made that big error at shortstop.
That's right.
When they were up in that series against the Royals, and it propelled the Royals on to not only winning that division series or maybe the championship. I can't remember which one it was, but they won the World Series.
I have a trivia question for you.
One bounce of the ball. Go ahead. I'm listening.
We were talking about this before we came on the air, but I'm going to turn it into a trivia question. What 3 players in NBA history, and I did say National Basketball Association, because we haven't talked about basketball in a while.
Yeah.
Regular season's coming up pretty quick here. But what 3 players in NBA history averaged more than 7 assists and 7 rebounds and 7 points in their first 4 seasons?
There's only been 3 players to do it. How about Jason Kidd? Would he be one of them?
No.
Okay. How about Nate Archibald?
No, but you're kind of close with the team. Not really. I take that back.
That would have been Nate. Would have been the Cincinnati Royals, the Kansas City Kings, and then after that, a little bit, I think, with Boston before he retired. Yep. I don't know if you remember Nate, when he played with Scott Wedman and Sam Lacey and that group in Kansas City. Yeah, sure. That's a couple of years ago, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, that was a couple of years. It was actually 2 years before the merger, wasn't it?
But I'm not certain. I just know that when Kansas City couldn't, or they weren't supporting that Kings they moved to Sacramento, but Nate was not. Listen, I remember watching Nate when he was, and I don't know the answer to trivia, but I will say this: Nate's one of the few guys who led the league in scoring and assists in the same season. And not just a little bit of scoring, but quite a bit of scoring. I think 30-plus a game and double digits in assists, which is, listen, double digits in assists is it's not a extraordinary feat, but it is surely is in college, and it certainly is something that not a whole lot of people have done. Will Chamberlain, he just did what he wanted, though. Wilt did. If he wanted to lead the league in assists, that's what he did. He put his mind to it, and he did it. A scoring, assists, rebound. He led the league in almost every surface or surface peripheral that basketball chooses to kind of use to intrigue fans, et cetera, et cetera. ERA, we both know ERA is basically a powder puff means very little. Records, win-loss records don't mean a lot as far as the talent or the capabilities of a pitcher, But I don't know the answer. I'm trying to think. It was points, assists, and rebounds. I would say Magic Johnson would be one guy that would have a chance to do that. I'm not hearing you at all, John. You're muted. You're muted. Is that me or is that you? Maybe it's.
That is strange. I don't know how that happened.
I don't know. Yeah, I was going to say, now I hear you. Okay.
Yeah, Magic Johnson is definitely one of them.
How about...
And then,
there's three of them.
Another guy was good. Yeah, there's three. Another guy that was pretty good with triple-doubles.
Oh, Westbrook.
Another guy before him.
Oh, Oscar Robertson?
Yep.
Wow. Well, you're going way... That's quite a few years back. That's even before you and I... We've been. When did Oscar retire? What year was it he retired?
I don't know off the top of my head.
I'm going to say early '60s. Maybe I'm not. I'd look that up too.
Well, yeah, I can look it up while you contemplate the third one.
Okay, the third one. Then if it's a
players in the news.
Really? Is it
yes.
really Ben Simmons?
Yes, it is.
Well, that doesn't surprise me either. That doesn't surprise me.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
You know
what that does? It puts in pretty good company. And there's lots of things that we can. There's certain categories we can do. We can do some trivia stuff or stuff like that, and come up with these obscure. That's not that obscure, but we can come up with obscure trivias that would put a player we never expected to be in the category of another player. And with Ben, it's not. I don't think anybody questions Ben's ability or talent because of the size and his skill set. This all comes down to a lot of this comes down to basically this is NBA video NBA like it's football. This is the age of NBA video basketball NBA and it's about scoring. It's about the 3-point line. I mean, everything's about the 3-point line almost now, and that's where you and I were talking before the show. The Lakers have they opened at 9-2 to win the NBA championship, and they're down to 7-2. And they can't win a champ. I don't believe they can win a championship in this age of basketball unless they have someone that can shoot from 20 feet, let alone 27 feet. And they're just not a very good perimeter shooting team. And I think no matter how efficient and effective and how filthy nasty you can be defensively, you still got to score.
It was actually double-digit scoring, 7 or more assists, 7 or more rebounds, and Oscar Robertson has the best stats of those three.
Oh, I bet.
I mean, pretty much everything's double digits except for assists in his third season at 9.5. 63-64 season, he averaged 9.9, and he retired in 73-74.
Well,
after 73-74. I was going to say 68, but even that wasn't.
I thought it was earlier. I thought it would been mid. I thought it would have been. Well, then he played in. You see, I'm surprised that I didn't. Because I followed. I was not a huge NBA fan at that time. However, I was the college team that I lived, the town I lived in. The college produced quite a few NBA players, so I would follow JoJo White I was a big fan of JoJo White, who played in Boston, who was a great college basketball player, a good NBA player. People don't talk about JoJo White, but he was pretty capable, a pretty darn good player. Dave Robish actually played in the ABA, for the Denver team there, and all those guys, Peter Russell. Bud Stallworth played for New Orleans. Bud Stallworth, I was at a game where I saw Bud score 50 points in college, and that's quite the back. They scored 50 in a regular season ending game against the Missouri Tigers. He scored 50 at Allen Fieldhouse floor, on the floor at Allen Fieldhouse in Lawrence. So Bud Stallworth was an exciting player, and he had quite a few good years with New Orleans. Most of these guys, it's been so long ago, obviously. We're talking about early 70s, so in the mid 70s, and that is 50 years ago. A lot of people watching this show may not even be 50 years old. So,
It's amazing.
mm-hmm.
Kobe Bryant did not have 1 year where he averaged 7 or more assists, 7 or more rebounds, and double digits.
I can assure you that it would be the rebounds he fell short in.
It's pretty much everything. There's not 1 year where he had more than 7 rebounds per game, and there's not 1 year where he averaged more than 7 assists.
Well, surely averaged more than 7 points. We know that.
Well, that is true. 30, as high as 35.4 in the 2005-06 season.
I would have thought.
You know where I'm going with this.
Yeah. No. Listen, he wasn't a guy who set other players up.
He was set up.
He created opportunities for players, a variety. But yeah, he was. And when he came down with the ball, he's unfortunately. He did a lot. He didn't do near as much as what LeBron does now, which is basically take the ball, take 7 seconds to get across the timeline, dribble around for another 8 or 10 seconds, and it's time to shoot.
Michael Jordan never did it either.
Nope, never did.
Not even one season. One season.
Yeah. Michael Jordan was also very similar to a Kobe. He was not a guy who, Steve Kerr was had a big hand in Michael's career. So Steve Kerr was a pretty good distributor, much like a John Stockton made a Malone. Stockton Malone, that's pick and roll. The original, one of the first to originate that was an absolutely almost unstoppable pick and roll with Malone.
And you knew it was coming.
You knew it. Oh, absolutely.
You knew it was coming.
Yep.
Yeah. But anyway, now that I've had more fun with this, and I put this in comparison, we now know that Ben Simmons is back. He's back in Philadelphia. But the media, and as I've been telling you, and I could be dead ass wrong with this, but there's a story that nobody knows. There's a story that obviously Ben Simmons probably could tell. But for the media in Philadelphia to infuriate everybody, like he just showed up off the street and then texted Elton Brand, the general manager, and said, "I'm here for my COVID test." Makes no sense to me. Absolutely no sense.
He showed up. Listen, he already had arrangements. From what I understand, he had arrangements to.
Yeah.
He already had arrangements. He showed up early. That's all that happened. He showed up earlier than was planned. But I would say this, in Philadelphia is a different animal than here in Las Vegas. We don't have that kind of talk radio because there's so many different media. Well, we have a pretty, listen, we're 3 million. We're not a small town, but we don't know. Listen, when I was younger and when I actually left the studio or left my office or left the house, I listened to talk radio, but I don't listen to talk radio. And I'm surprised you said you were listening earlier. I'm surprised you were listening. It sounds like to me that you're looking for something to be distraught about.
As I've said to you and Rob so many times, I turned it on when I was going out running a few errands and getting lunch today, I got literally what the hell else are they going to say next? It was almost like watching the Jerry Springer show. Like what's going to happen next? Yeah. Or Maury Povich with who's the father of my child?
You answered all your own questions. If you're asking questions why they do what they do, you answered all your questions. If you're comparing it to those two shows, then that was the directive. They're under directions to listen. We need to whatever you have to do to rile people up. That's what brings listeners.
Oh, they're doing a good job of it.
Yeah, right.
But this is where I draw the line, though, and then we'll get to some betting talk with the futures bets for the NBA. But if you buy a season ticket, they were actually stating on the show, the hosts were stating that you have every right to boo, yell at, didn't use the word abuse, like abusive language, but implied it. that if you go to a game, you should yell at him every single game this season. Now, what good is that going to do?
Well,
is that going to if you buy season tickets, you generally would love that team, or you're a corporation and you're getting it for customers who love that team so they can enjoy it. But if you're a fan, you want your team to win, right? You don't want it to be a toxic Peyton Place type of NBA unit.
I mean, if you're
what good is that going to do?
If you're grandiose and delusional enough to believe that you have the power to influence what an organization does,
that's true too.
From your in the stands, then and honestly, John, you do. You have the right to do whatever you want to do. However, we have the right to go. We have the right to go down to the bank on the corner and rob it. We can go rob it, but there's consequences to what you do. And in this situation, if you're the guy that is continuing to be belligerent and negative, and the people around you aren't, guess what? If I'm one of those people, then I have all the right. If you have the right to do it to Ben, then guess what? This is my seat. I pay for it. I have the right to turn around and hit you upside your head.
Yeah, I agree. So I hope that organization makes a statement on that they will not tolerate any player abuse, no matter who it is, but especially him.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got to know that he's going to be safe playing the game and not have crap thrown at him. Or,
there's an article. I haven't read it yet, but somebody just sent me an article. Okay, and they said, Tony, read this and tell me whether you agree with this. And it's the article. It's Simmons made his own bed in Philadelphia. It's on CBS Sports. I haven't read it yet, but I'll read it afterwards too. And so whoever wrote this, Simmons reportedly returned to Sixers camp on Monday night, but he can't erase the way he handled the holdout. So this is a column that's saying, listen,
it's not one-sided, Tony. It can't be to have when you get divorced. When people get divorced, it's not the one person.
Oh, it is.
There's a lot of things that happened along the way, right? If corporations are partners and things aren't kind of gelling anymore, it's not just one thing that triggered it. No. And Doc Rivers didn't do anything to support him during the whole playoffs.
Well, I don't know where. Let's say right now. You've made some. I just read you I gave you the byline, and then there's a little quip under the byline. Obviously, it says Simmons reportedly returned to the Sixers camp on Monday night, but he can't erase the way he handled. This is a guy who just has an opinion on how he handled the holdout. It's just this one man. That's
true.
Just one man's opinion. So, and that's what they're paid to write. And guess what? That byline, and the fact that someone sent it to me, is, if I remember, I'll read it. But at least you see they've accomplished what they want. They need eyeballs on websites, and that's what they want. So,
yep.
Yeah.
Well, let's take a look at some futures NBA bets here, and then fairly quickly. Yeah,
you got. I think Rob and the other Tony.
Yep, Anthony.
He's like the Mets. See, he's the other New York team. He's the other Tony. He will be on, and I for the second day in a row. I apologize, everyone, but 2 minutes or so I'll be having to do another. I have to go on and make some stuff up like I do here, and
well, we can do the futures bet tomorrow if you want to do your show bet.
Let's do this. Yeah, I can do that. I give you a free bet, but the futures, which I like to talk about, and in fact, it's beneficial for people like us to have conversations, have dialogue about such. If you're going to do any recommending or releasing of such, so. We already talked a little bit about the Lakers, how I feel that they are at 7-2. I couldn't play the Lakers with if I'd saved all my Tootsie Roll wrappers for 100 years, I couldn't have cashed those in and play them on Lakers. Couldn't do it. My free play. Let's go to free play for the day. Okay. In fact, let's just go with the free play. I'm going to tell you that the Lakers right now have a lot of. We'll keep it in the NBA. I released my first NBA of the year. It's a preseason, obviously, and it's a late tip at Staples, and it's the Golden State Warriors. It's Curry and his crew against LeBron and his Laker mates. And the Lakers have a lot of moving parts right now, a lot of new pieces. they've tried to add some people that try to add some players. Listen, Horton Tucker, he needs some thumb surgery, so he's going to be a question mark. He won't be ready for the opener. But LeBron, Westbrook's there now, full force, and he's excited about being a Laker because of obviously, I think where he played college ball at, being a Bruin, that he probably is a Laker fan, and I'm not certain where Westbrook grew up. To be honest with you, he may be a California kid. I don't know. But when Westbrook's involved in a team, they're always going to be exciting to a certain level, to a certain degree, right?
Yeah.
It might not be all positive. Could be controversial, but I used to make jokes 2 years ago all the time when our NBA table show that that Westbrook got himself in trouble. He was arguing with the cardboard figures in the stands down in Orlando bubble. Got a technical for hitting one of the or shoving one of the cardboard figures. The Lakers are laying 5 tonight at Staples. They got taken to school because they don't have any they really don't have any perimeter shooting, but they have a lot of bigs, guys. Listen, they got Davis, okay? They got a nice assortment of bigs that they can rotate in and out and protect the paint. But again, protecting the paint is pretty important against teams like Memphis and teams like that score the majority of their points, or 50%, of the points in the paint. That's not the case with a team like the Warriors. And Curry's healthy, and people don't give Curry enough credit for what he does on the perimeter defensively. He's, this is a Warriors team that ranked 5th last year in defensive efficiency. Okay, 5th,
yep.
And that was right there with the Lakers on the efficiency metrics. Curry put up 30 on a pretty efficient day, but Curry right now, along with once they get settled in tonight, I like him a lot because this Lakers team's not trying to win. What they're trying to do is figure out their rotations with all the new pieces. They're trying to give some of the players. A lot of guys are auditioning to be with LeBron. Who's going to be in LeBron's? Who's going to be in the first rotation? Who's going to be in the second? Is Cousins? Who's going to be playing the second center role? Are they going to put Davis and Cousins? And there's a lot of things that they don't know. They don't have answers for yet. Where with the Warriors, this is pretty much the same team. They have a couple of you guys. They had some nice draft picks, right? But they know who their first rotation is. They know who they are, and they know how they're going to play basketball. I still believe that LeBron is the coach. He's a player coach. I think he makes a lot of decisions. It's another one of those that we could talk about for hours and hours. His business team meets with the Lakers front office in the offseason, and they discuss how this team's going to be run. I mean, listen, LeBron has that much confidence in himself, and obviously this is a guy who's made a lot of money, okay, playing basketball, but it's second to how much money he's made off the basketball court because there's no messing around with LeBron. If he's not doing something charitable, then he's doing something to make money and being and spending time with his kids. Okay, you can't listen. There's a lot of things we can complain about what we don't like about LeBron, but he's not your prototypical NBA guy who's hitting the strip club. And tonight, those same guys, Curry, another good guy that can play basketball hard and do it the right way. I really like Golden State tonight, plus the 5. And again, this is preseason, so when I say I really like it, I rarely like preseason games. But I like the Warriors, plus the 5. I think this is very similar to Friday nights when they wired it. They were up by 20 most of the game. It did get close at the end, but they're getting 5 tonight, and I think they win straight up.
I like it. I like that play a lot.
Yeah. And it's a late tip. So, what's your if you got nothing to watch out there on the East Coast, you can always tune in at 10 p.m. and it'll be on TV. It's on, the NBA. I can't remember what's on, but if there's a game you can't get, then I have the solution to that too, John. I got to go there. Just ping me. But I think I talked to you.
Okay.
You want to know more about how I stream everything? I got really tired of paying Big Brother. I'm tired of paying $500 a month for cable, And,
I did too. I cut the cord.
Yeah. It's something that I should have done long ago, and I still haven't done it. I'm one of those guys, John, that had for years when I worked for my home. It's been 10 years ago, but I had cable and DirecTV at my house. And people say, "No, you don't."
I did too. I did too.
Yeah, I never, because everything I did was out of my office at home, and I needed them both at that time. I needed them both to get the tapes and films of the NFL games, and they still, DirecTV still holds that pseudo monopoly on being able to broadcast Sunday Ticket.
The NFL.
Thanks for having me, Jay.
Yeah. You got it, man.
I was trying to hang on tight till the guys came.
No, that's all right. I can talk for a little bit, and people won't fall asleep. I don't think.
I'll check on you later. I'll drop some more NBA futures to you, and go give us some free plays. Give away winners. Nothing but winners. Go Houston.
You got it.
See you, buddy.
You got it. Thanks, Tony. See you.
Thank you.
Good luck tonight. And that was Tony Finn, known as Effin' Tony, and I want to get back to this futures here, because I think if we're looking here for this is for the NBA championship, I agree 100% that you certainly don't bet the Lakers at that kind of price. You don't bet the Nets at that kind of price. But suddenly you have then the Bucks, and then it jumps up to the Clippers at 20-1. There, they were 10-1. Obviously, it went up for a reason. The Sixers at 25-1. It's crazy now. For pizza money, I think that it's just a really good shot in the dark, so to speak. I also think the Jazz are a team to be reckoned with too. I think there'll be a time where you can get better price than 14-1 than now. Even the Miami Heat at 25-1 looks appealing to me right now, and Denver. So those are kind of the ones that stuck out to me. I haven't gone to the window with any of them, but I think those that are at that 25-1 offer some pretty good value. And what are you going to do with the Lakers at 7-2, or 5-2 for the Nets? It's got nowhere to go but up. You have a couple injuries. You have bad stretches of, even these great teams have bad stretches, and all of a sudden those odds are going to be a lot better than they are now. And I think the betting community right now has the market priced way ahead of itself. It's almost like, why even have the regular season? Let's just have the Nets and the Lakers play now and call it a year. And it doesn't work that way. Not when there's 82 games involved. So that's all I have for the NBA right now. NBA was very good for me last year. Not quite as good as my football is running right now, and I'll just scroll that down through the bottom of the show here. It's been a tremendous run. We had the Colts last night, and they covered by 1.5 points, but they never trailed. They never trailed ATS, and that's what was nice. I didn't like it for that team, because I think Frank Reich is a good head coach. I think Wentz is finally starting to get into a comfort zone. They had a huge lead, and the defense just looked completely worn out. Both defenses actually did, and I don't know what was going on with the Colts field goal kicker, but missed extra point was the difference. And I guess he missed 2 field goals. He apparently had a hip injury, but it looked a lot more almost psychological. It was he made 35 in a row, and then he missed one, and that was pretty much it. But what I wanted to talk about too is in college football, I've done a lot of videos. And by the way, since I'm running solo here, if you go to sportsmemo.com, where I am, or use the link SM, as in sportsmemo.buzz, BUZZ /JR, you can get the rest of college football and NFL for just $359. You get to save $169 off the regular price being charged of $527. And a lot of people have taken advantage of it, so I appreciate that very, very much, obviously. It has been one heck of a year already. We had 10-unit play on Texas A&M, in which I highly recommended putting money on the money line as well. No more than 1 unit, but looking for that possibility of an upset. And it marks the 14th year now I have had a double-digit underdog in college football that has actually won the game outright. Last year, one of the biggest ones I ever had, just happened to be on a college football show. It was live, and I gave out the pick of LSU plus 24.5 against Florida. It was in the swamp. We all know how LSU was playing last year, and Florida was head and shoulders above them. And the panel I was with thought that I was just completely nuts, and I actually then said, well, my premium play is this, and my clients are going to be told to bet the money line. And we all know LSU won 37-34. I never know, nor does anybody else know, when these games are going to happen. Otherwise, I would tell you. But you got to keep playing these consistently, and you do those money line, the extra 1 unit, and sooner or later, you're going to catch one. And a double-digit dog covers more than you would think at the college football level. Even a 20-point dog does. So, with that said, one of the games I did do today was NC State against Boston College, number 22 NC State playing against Boston College. That's out there on the Sports Memo TV platform, and really appreciate it if you would ring the bell and subscribe to it, please. That would be great. Jesse Scholl gave out TCU and Oklahoma game and Tulsa, South Florida. But the game that I did want to talk about initially here, and I think this line's going to go up, and that's why I wanted to get it to as many people as I can, is the Kansas City Chiefs. Played a miserable game. I had them in the circa. It was just a complete miscue on my part in that game. I just did not see Buffalo being able to do what they did on both sides of the ball, and it does bring some concern. However, you don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, and Kansas City's in an excellent spot here going against the Washington Iron Condors, which is my nickname. If you're new to the show, I recommended that as a new name for that football team because the Washington football team just doesn't cut it to me. I mean, how could you even have a mascot? But an Iron Condor is a sophisticated option strategy that I used to use when I worked on Wall Street, and that sounds a lot better. Well, anyway, the Chiefs are playing at Washington, and a betting angle here is really good, and it simply is telling you to bet on favorites that have a losing record. So what does that tell you? What does it tell you about the host? That it tells you that the host is really not good. Because if you have a losing record, you yourself are not that good, at least yet. And the fact that you're favored on the road in the NFL really brings up a big red flag. So you're playing on road favorites, in this case Kansas City. It's off, and upset loss is a favorite and has a win percentage of less than 40% on the season. And is playing a non-conference foe, this is interconference game. So this is at FedEx Field at 1 o'clock. Line is 6.5. I did not see actually where it is now, but I can tell you that very quickly. We have the Washington football team. Kansas City's up to 7 now. So it opened at 6. 6 minus 120. It was really an opening of 6.5 in my opinion. Pinnacle, we affectionately call it Penny, is now minus 7.5, plus 109 though. Heritage is still holding fast at 7, but those are the two that I think you've come to know that we, as a group of panelists, look to for the direction of the line. And I do think that this line will go to 7.5, but I don't know if it'll steamroll through there, because then the next important number, really, with the teasers and everything for the books, would be 9.5. And that is a big leap, and that would make Washington a pretty undervalued home dog at that point. But if you have 6.5 at the opening, or even 7 now, and it would go to 9.5, then we'll update that on Friday as a possible buyback. But it would have to steamroll quite a bit, and I don't think that's going to happen. But I do think 7s are going to go to the wayside here pretty shortly. It'll be 7.5 come game time, possibly higher. So again, that little angle I was talking about, the record on that is, again, it's an upset loss as a favorite playing a non-conference foe, and a win percentage not higher than 40% on the season. Has gone, it's 1-0 this year, 7-1 the last 5 years, 15-3 against the number the last 10 seasons. It's a very, very high, what Tony Finn calls JR value, which is actually the P value, statistically speaking, meaning that these parameters work well together over a long period of time. I actually could tell you the record going back 30 years. And 50% of these games, so there's 18 of them, so 9 of them cover the spread by more than 7 points. And that's a powerful result. So I do think there's a very high probability that Kansas City gets a much-needed win here to get back to an even record and be 3-3 and easily cover the 7 or 7.5 point spread. So even if it's 7.5, I still like it quite a bit. So there's one free pick that I'll write down here on my sheet too. And if my other two boys are not ready to go, we might just call it a day here. And I hope you don't mind that. But sometimes they get delayed. Technology isn't always perfect. Tony Finn was talking about Westbrook. He's from Lawndale, which is right there, kind of in the heart of Los Angeles, that whole big area. So that is what he was talking about, being back home in where he went to high school at Lawndale. And let's see here. I just heard somebody pop in. Mr. Mejia is with me. And he looks ready.
Hey, how are you? I had one of my other light right before I did the college football show. The little wire on the light went out, so now I have to order a new one, and that's why my green screen isn't great. But we will make do. How are you?
Yeah, we'll make do. We're good. We are good. We coming off a pretty big weekend, and my numbers are scoring at the bottom. I figured I would brag while you guys weren't on, but it's among the best starts to a season I have had in 27 years.
Well, that's awesome.
And it's one of those things that I'm really glad that it's working, and it's the models are getting smarter. And that's what I'm most impressed with, that the performance now, the last 4 years, has steadily gotten better. So this would be assuming that, I'm not trying to piss off the betting guys, but assuming I finish over the season over 60%, it'll be 4 straight years of 60% or better. And anybody with half a brain would be happy with that.
Oh, but I did tremendous. I mean, I saw the A&M thing, which I would never have played just because Calzada is so terrible. But Calzada had the best game I've ever seen him play by a lot against an Alabama defense. He did it legitimately. So, that's Kreskin-ish out of you. In terms, look, your models are great because it offers a completely different perspective than what I offer. Like I sit there and I watch most of these games and I do my own numbers and I look for value in numbers. And then at the same time, I would never be on that game just because I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, well, if Texas A&M gets down, then you're relying on Calzada to bring you back against the defense that has its ears pinned back and is going to come at you and destroy you. And but it never happened, did it? I mean, you played from ahead. And, it just is what last night with the Ravens and the Colts, you're sitting there watching that game. And the way that the Ravens opened was nauseating for me. I had it in the contest. I had it as my 4% play. And I was 15-4 going in. So now I'm 15-5 on NFL 4% plays.
That's outstanding.
It is. It's very good.
Yeah, it's very good.
But, I was relying on the Ravens for a lot. So it was frustrating to see their play calling early, their lack of adjustments to the short passing game. And granted, Wentz was very good early in being decisive. And then, the breaks, the fumble by the goal line. I had a prop on Lamar Jackson getting into the end zone, he was inches away twice. So, sometimes it goes like that.
And then the
fumble, and then he got stopped short in that play that was almost a fumble very late in the game. So what a wild game that was last night.
Oh, it was.
Just one of those, and they're always wild. I mean, we've seen wild games all season, it seems, and even this week, they all had their twists and turns. Chiefs Bills with the delay, and last night's game, and then Chargers and the Browns, which was I was actually on the right side of that one, pretty much right down to the analysis where this game's going to come down to the wire, and we're going to trust Justin Herbert over Baker Mayfield, to make plays. But sometimes that works out, and then other times, like I said, with you and A&M, you sit there and it's tied, and then you're like, all right, well, Alabama, you've got the cover, but Alabama's going to go down and win this game, and they go 3 and out, 1 yard, and then A&M gets the ball back and goes 50, 60 yards, sets up for the field goal and wins a game. And that's tremendous. Like at that point, I would be rooting for A&M, but I stayed out of it completely. But wow, such chaos, and it's good stuff. It really is fun to see that we'll get some different blood in there, even though Alabama probably responds and gets into the college football playoff. The fact they took a loss to an unranked team, I think it's good for the game.
Oh, yeah. I think it is, too. I think it's really good for the SEC as an entire unit. And clearly, Georgia is number one. I thought they were I would have put them number one if I was voting. And as we've talked about, the rankings right now don't mean squat. There's a team called Ohio State that still has a lot of games to play, one of which is against Penn State. That'll be a big one now that they both have one loss. But Penn State loss is to Oregon out of conference. So the fact that Iowa is number 2 is almost disturbing, because I mean, Ohio State would be, if they did play Ohio State, they would be at least a double-digit underdog.
Right, but that's where that's where the resumes come into play. And I think I'm biased because I'm a UCF guy, and I saw them get screwed out of a college football playoff. And now I'm looking at Cincinnati potentially in the same boat, because they got undefeated SMU, but now this UCF win is going to be completely undervalued. They're a 20-point favorite, rightfully so. UCF without its top quarterback, running back, and wide receiver. So they should smash them, and they smashed Temple. I thought style points might be in play there, and they were. And if you're the Bearcats, you have to put your foot on the gas and go for it. But look, John, let's fast forward. We're in the final week of the regular season, or right before the CFP rankings come out, excuse me. You've got Alabama, Georgia, and let's say Oklahoma's in. They managed to avoid Bedlam, and they're undefeated. And even though it hasn't been pretty, they're an undefeated Power 5, so they're in. And then you've got a 4 spot. You mentioned Ohio State. We'll even take Iowa out of the equation. They lose somehow. And then Ohio State with Oregon, that loss is now devalued because Oregon's lost to Stanford, and maybe they lose again. And you've got Ohio State versus Cincinnati for that 4 spot. And people in Ohio would freak out if Cincinnati gets that spot, but Cincinnati would deserve it, in my opinion. So, I mean, we're in for more chaos.
Yeah, I think so. And I just I'll stand corrected, but I don't see Iowa running this slate. I just don't.
Yeah,
number 2 team in the country, and it's not Vegas telling us this. It's the betting community. It's a market. It's like looking at the price of Apple. Apple, if it's $240 on the screen, that's what it is. And the line for this game against Purdue, who I don't hold in high regard at all, is 12.5. And if you're the number 2 team in the country, it should be like 24.5. And that's why the polls don't mean anything right now. They just don't.
The books aren't treating them as that and holding them in that high regard, and rightfully so. I mean, their best offensive weapons are the running back and the tight end. So you're really beating teams without a wide receiver. They squeaked by Penn State. It's still a good win. They covered the spread. They're 5-1 against the number, despite them scoring. The 34-6 against Indiana is a little misleading because I believe at least 2 of the touchdowns were defensive, maybe 3. And then underwhelming against Colorado State. You were all over that. They beat Maryland. Tagovailoa was playing for them in that game. Threw him the ball more often than he did the Terps. And then now you're sitting there in your back half of the schedule. You're going to go to Wisconsin. That's devalued because they look terrible. And you've got a tougher game against Nebraska than I think you envisioned. And then I think the tripping point is that Big Ten title game, which had come, I guess, against Ohio State, right?
Yep.
Ohio State or Michigan. Let's not, Michigan got through the Nebraska game. So, yeah, the Ohio State-Michigan winner against Iowa is basically what prevents Iowa, unless they fall at Wisconsin, from reaching that Final Four with defense that is not the 85 Bears, even though results-wise it's kind of looked like them as a driving force of that team.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, it's certainly possible they could run the slate. And if they run the slate, then they certainly deserve to be in, and I've grossly underestimated them. But I certainly wouldn't be betting on them anytime soon, and I might be losing out on some great wins. But I guess I'm a little skeptical. I wanted to see here on the Big Ten division here, just to add on to what you were talking about. So here's standings. So it really does come down to essentially the Penn State, Ohio State. So the Penn State loss doesn't hurt them yet. But the loss of Clifford, thank God they're on a bye this week for Penn State fans, because the sub was just overwhelmed in that environment. It didn't look good at all. No, I don't think anybody would disagree with that. But in the Big East, Big 10, Big 12, where the hell is this? There we are. So we have ESPN doesn't have it divided up into division. It's Michigan's on top, Illinois. I'm looking at like last year, I think. What am I looking at? You won't believe this. I clicked the wrong. I was looking at men's basketball.
Oh well, I was going to say.
I haven't been drinking.
All right, well, very good.
All right, here we go. And I think Rob Vino's in the house here too, so I'll bring him in. Yeah, so in the East, you have 4 teams that are in the top 10, just in that East division. Number 8, Michigan. Number 10, Michigan State. Number 6, Ohio State. Number 7, Penn State. So 6, 7, 8, and 10 are all in the same East division of the Big Ten. West has one ranked team, and that is Iowa, number 2. They're 3-0, and everybody else is 1-1 or has a losing record in the conference.
Yep, pretty much.
And every one of those teams, except for Nebraska, has been severely outscored by their opponents. Nebraska could be one of the best 1-3 teams in the land, conference-wise, or at least in that conference.
Yeah, I mean, look, Scott Frost is doing his best job since he arrived there, and it might be enough to save it because they're close, but he's been tied to Adrian Martinez his entire career, and Martinez still makes critical mistakes. He keeps them in games. He's a really dynamic quarterback. When he's accurate, he's excellent. But again, he hasn't delivered those results. So you wonder if he gets one more season, if they continue to stay in games and play, with the top 25 teams, to see who he's got next under center. Because certainly they haven't been able to develop a quarterback that's better than Martinez, and that's an indictment of Frost as well.
Yeah, I agree. How's it going,
Hello,
Rob?
Man. How are you guys?
Well, you're sounding really, really good on that new headset you have.
Yeah, it took some
That
time
sounds really good.
with Joe Ranieri he straightened me out pretty good. We took some time Friday night. So once we get a real camera set up, and I'll stick with the jailhouse background. It's good enough for me.
I think Tony Finn kind of likes that background. You'd probably be disappointed if you got a green screen or some kind of other background. I had to give him a heads up.
Rob, I was telling John that right before the college football show, I've got a well, you can't see, but I've got a light to my left and a light to my right, and the light that I use to my right, it's off balance. The wire comes bucked out. So now I have to order a new one for later in the week, but technical difficulties.
Those umbrella types?
Yeah, exactly. The umbrella type, like with the tripod. So, yep. And it just slightly, it's been really good. So I'm ordering the same one, but yeah, it just got pulled slightly more than it wanted to be pulled and gone.
Well, we'll spend 5 minutes on this because I can't help myself.
Here it comes.
I didn't go to my therapy session, and I tuned into WIP in Philadelphia today when I was out at lunch, and the addiction was like watching the Jerry Springer show because even though it's a commercial, you want to see what's going to happen next. You want to see the hair pulling and all this other stuff. Or remember the Maury Povich show when they would say, I forget what the title is, but it was like they were on the 10th. I mean, it's kind of sad. They were on like the 10th guy for DNA testing to see if he was the father.
Who's the father?
Yeah. So, it's been kind of like that. And I only did listen about 14 minutes worth, but they were actually encouraging season ticket holders of the Sixers that since they pay all this money for it, that they have the right to yell, scream, whatever they want at Ben Simmons. Now, I have a trivia question for you, and you already know the answer.
Philadelphia?
But this really, and Tony Finn actually helped me make this even more apparent. All right, we know what Ben Simmons is good at. There's only been 4 players in NBA history to start their first 4 seasons. I'm sorry, there's only been 3 NBA players to start their first 4 seasons, averaging 7 assists or more, 7 rebounds or more, and double-digit scoring. You already know Ben Simmons is one of them. So can you name the other 2? I'm telling you right now, it's not Jordan. It's not Kobe Bryant. It's not Jason Kidd. We went through a list of them, and Finn had some really good answers, and I looked it up just to make sure my database was right. But the other 2 guys, I won't make you agonize over this, are Oscar Robertson.
Let me at least get a guess, but I'm pulling double duty here prepping for these college football panel videos, and I missed the question. So I'll take. There's
been 3.
If you read my notes, you won't have to prep. I'll show you all my notes.
Man,
that's if I could.
Hey, there's like a head coach.
I high def camera, but I can't see it. Well,
yeah, I got to get better at this.
You're going to have to carry the load on this. Oh, I got some notes down. I'm good to go. But what is the question?
I would have guessed Oscar Robertson, John, without even knowing what the question is. So I would have got one right, but I don't know what exactly you were asking.
The question is: there's 3. Name the 3 guys in NBA history all time that began their career averaging 7 or more assists per game, 7 or more rebounds per game, and double-digit scoring in all 4 of the first years. There's only been 3.
Johnson, one of them.
That's
Magic
the other
Johnson?
one. Yep, yeah. Very good.
Magic and Oscar.
Yep.
Yeah, I thought Westbrook, but yeah, Magic, definitely, yeah.
So again, I really do need like. It's a good thing I hike over in the trails where nobody can see me, because then I can just like maybe I'll just take a chainsaw over there and just cut down a tree or something.
I mean, out of those 3 guys, Ben Simmons is the best defender too. But the fact is, those other 2 guys were not reluctant to shoot. So there you go. And that's in this day and age is a deal breaker. But
if you buy tickets, if you're a season ticket holder, is there anything good that can come out of yelling at a player that is on your team, that you're supposed to be supporting if you're a big fan of that team, and you got all 41 home games, and you're sitting in the 10th row, and that would be probably, I'm guessing it probably would be about $25,000 at the Sixers is my guess. I think. What do you think, Rob? It's got to be pretty close for 2 seats, 10th row, between 10 and 20.
Expensive. It's expensive. I mean, individual game tickets.
They
can before, they are expensive. I think it cost me My second son, my youngest son, is a Dallas Mavericks fan. Dirk Nowitzki's favorite player. So every year Dallas would come into town one time, and every year we'd get the tickets so he could go see Dirk. And a couple of years we put him inside the 10th row. I think like 4th and 9th row next to the tunnel. And when I tell you back then, this is probably going back 6 years, it ran $700-800 for 4 of us to go see that game just to get in the door. You know what I mean? That's one game out of 41. Just extrapolate that out, and you can tell. Those people. Speaking of the Philadelphia fan base, they're not the type to think it through the way you are, John. They're just not the type to think it through. They're going to voice their frustration. It's just interesting to me, and we're going to see how and if this can work after. Supposedly Ben said that playing with Joel Embiid has run its course. I can't play my game with him in the middle. And players can work a lot of stuff out if they believe they can win a championship.
They certainly have the pieces.
It's amazing how quickly he got there yesterday, right? All of a sudden, they didn't even know he was coming. All of a sudden, he's in the building taking a COVID test. Nobody even knows.
Yeah, and even when I heard that, I'm thinking that the company that is the agents for him and LeBron and Clutch Sports.
Clutch Sports, yeah.
So Clutch Sports, is it reasonable for me to be thinking that they were talking to the Sixers and said, look, he wants to come back, and this and the other thing, this and the other thing, and we expect him to be in a safe environment when he's playing the games, for example, because nobody needs things thrown at him either, and I wouldn't put it past the fans to do something stupid like that and throw beers on the court or just something really ignorant.
But,
like way beyond throwing snowballs at Santa Claus or booing a dead owner that just passed away the week before. I got to think that conversation happened, and then perhaps the communication between Clutch Sports and the agent to Elton Brand, the general manager, those types of conversations. I'm not saying that is how it works, but there had to be some communication. I mean, the media makes it sound like he just arrogantly just showed up and said, "I'm really not here to practice with you guys, but I'm here for my COVID test." I mean, that's a bunch of crap.
Everything in life is follow the money. Follow the money, and it started when Philadelphia threw that $8.2 million in an escrow fund, and said, "Here it is. We're not giving it to you. We're going to take out the fine every single day until you show up." And eventually, Ben Simmons is not going to give up that money. You'd have to be an idiot to give up that money. So, surprisingly, a week later, or unsurprisingly, he shows up because, all right, I need my money, so I got to show up. Where it goes from here is the big question. Man, where it goes from here.
Yeah, I mean,
we haven't heard Simmons talk though, right?
To me, this is a necessary step in trading him because it is key to have him play. And look, Rich Paul isn't stupid. They practically run the NBA over the last 10 years, Clutch Sports. And you're going to have working relationships going forward with Daryl Morey and the rest of the league. This is a bad look. So you say, let's bring him back in the fold. It's easier to trade him. It increases our ability to get something for him because right now nobody's biting. And it makes him look like the good soldier. Who looks like the bad soldier right now? Kyrie Irving. Nobody wants to trade for that guy. So if you're Ben Simmons' camp, you tell Ben Simmons, hey, you're losing money. Go play good soldier, and they'll try to get you out of there. I still think he does not open the season in Philly, or at least doesn't play a game. It would surprise me if he plays a single game in a Philadelphia uniform. I could be wrong.
It would surprise me too. Yeah. But you understand my point in mentioning, like, I think how in the world do you replace a guy that is on? I mean, he can't shoot. All right, so you get coaches, and I've always come back to this point. He holds the NBA record for most free throw attempts in a quarter. In his rookie year, he did that. It was like 24 attempts from the free throw line, and it wasn't Hacka Ben. It didn't exist. Nobody really knew like what his weakness was at that time. But when you saw that, and he only made like 60% of them, wouldn't that be a trigger for the coaching staff to go to him and say, "Hey, we got to work on the free throw shooting. anybody can make 50 in a row in an empty gym. But work on what goes through a guy's head when he's making those shots in a game situation, especially a pressure situation. But that apparently never was done. But I think they're going to. He's going to go somewhere and he's going to win a world championship or 2 or 3 or 4. I totally believe that.
It's mental. I mean, the game that stands out to me is the Rudy Gobert game, where he wanted to show up Gobert as they're both vying for the Defensive Player of the Year. No Embiid. He went for I forget
42, I think, wasn't it?
It was over 40, and most of it was in the paint right over Gobert.
Yep.
And he was as aggressive as you've ever seen him. So it's all mental. And the fact is, look, and if I'm Ben Simmons, I'm a baby if I'm saying, oh, well, you should protect me by taking me out in the final 5 minutes of games when you know your value on the defense.
Right. I agree with that 100%.
So,
I do.
I think he's
I'm not saying he's a saint.
He'll look back on this 5 years from now and say, wow, I was right. And Doc Rivers just didn't have kid gloves, nor should he.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. Anyway, why don't we do our round of best bets now, and I'll let you guys get on to the your college football shows tonight.
Not a show, panel videos.
Ah, okay. They're always good.
Always informative.
I want Rob Vino to take a picture of his written notes though, because that looked like a coach's board. I got to see how he preps for these shows because it might help me.
You got to see how many go in the garbage at the end of every week, John. I mean, it's.
Well, I guess after the game's over.
One of those fossils who writes out everything with pen to paper. So, a lot of times you'll see me looking down because I'm always down like a newscaster reading my notes. Where most people stare straight ahead. Yeah, most people stare straight ahead because they can see it on their computer screen, but mine aren't there. I don't know, something with absorbing what you're, reading. I think pen to paper, I get it better than the other way around. So I usually have a pile, this thick. Here's some of last week's, as a matter of fact. They didn't even make the garbage yet, but it just goes to show you how many games we go over during a week on these Wager Talk shows. It's just crazy. I mean, the amount of games we're assigned to do, and when you do every game on the board with Drew, you get about a dozen right there off the bat that you have to go through. So, yeah, it's just personal preference to write them down. But I got to get a better camera on my end, Tone. That way you can see through and be able to just.
Thank you. That would be helpful.
Well, I gave out a pick earlier. It was a college football pick on the Kansas City Chiefs going into the Washington Iron Condors.
Come on,
if it's all right. Yeah, I was thinking of Boston College, NC State, and that's another free pick video I did with Dr. Chuck. He and I are running pretty hot over at Sports Memo, and you guys should just get all our subscriptions. Actually, the promo they're doing for me now, and I'll try not to boast too much because results are results, right? It's not bragging or hype if it's the truth. So we're running at some, pretty insane numbers, and I expect, or at least going to try to maintain that. But 80% the last 15 in NFL, 65 over the last 75 NFL bets, 69 over the last 28 college football bets, and 86 for a 12-2 record in NFL totals. And those are all 4% and higher. The Texas A&M game was a 10-unit, and I was completely objective and sober when I convinced myself to put out the 10 because I personally do not like that 10, and I think that draws hype into it no matter what I say. Because oh my God, it's a 10-unit play. We gotta buy this, and then I worry that people get stupid with it. But it worked out. And then I had a 10-unit play on the over in the Dallas Giants game, which wasn't the prettiest game there for the first 3 quarters, but it got the job done. And I guess at the end of the day, it's all that matters. But everybody on this show has good records, so it's not like it stands out. all that much differently from you guys. The Sports Memo TV shows are on our run. Those are me and Dr. Chuck, Jesse Scholl, Don Buster, Mad George, who lives in outside of Athens, Greece. He's kind of like our Gianni, I guess. Not as flamboyant, I guess, but same territory. Believe it or not, the shows, and you can't make this up because you watch the shows and see for yourself, they're 23-5, college football and NFL. That's 82%.
That's awesome.
Well, you know what I'm going to say next, and Johnny tells me I shouldn't say these things, but we know that eventually you're going to have that double bogey. My analogy of 18 holes in golf, 18 weeks in the NFL. 16 weeks in college football. It's inevitable. Nobody in the history of this world honestly can claim that they made money every single Saturday and Sunday of a season. At least I don't know anybody like that. And if they did do it, they did it once. The guys that win the circuit don't go. You go 3-2 in the circuit every week for 17 weeks. You're gonna cash. You will cash something. May not win it, but you'll cash. But anyway, that's all I have to say about that. So my NFL pick that I gave out here was on the Chiefs, and it was just a simple betting system of you take a losing record team, 40% or less. That is a road favorite, and I like that part of it. The road favorite of a team that has a losing record. How often does that happen? Not very often. And the Kansas City Chiefs are 2-3, and I think they're going to pretty much annihilate the Iron Condors as much as I like their new mascot name. Anyway, and I'm not making fun of the team. I just don't like I don't like the football team. And then, we have to be careful how we write when we do those plays. We have to be careful how you write the abbreviation, because if you write it wrong, you can be saying something totally inappropriate. So this whole world gets me. The John Gruden thing. I mean, my goodness gracious. We don't even want to get into that today, I don't think. But, I mean, I will say this. How in the world did ESPN have him doing Monday Night Football all those years, and they didn't know about these emails in 2011?
Well, it just came out in Discovery because of the cheerleader case, right? I think that's...
How does nobody complain?
Well,
what Keyshawn said, he did a good job of hiding it, but it was a shtick and people fell for it. All I'm saying is this: I have my own issues, like as a person, like I like to gamble. I used to womanize. You can go through all my emails. I've never disparaged a person based on their gender or
right.
Skin color,
right.
or so
Right.
From that standpoint, in 2021. You can call it woke, you can call it all this cancel culture, but I mean, shoot, you can't do that. And if it comes to
right,
light,
I agree.
You're a leader of men. Sorry.
I agree. I agree 100%. And my point is that why didn't it turn up sooner? In the background check when he was hired by ESPN, for example, you would think that a real solid background check would uncover that somewhere, somehow, social media, somewhere. 2011, we're already big time into social media at that point. And that's the part I don't get how it was overlooked. Like, I just hope to God it wasn't hid like you.
Right.
That's the
only
part
answer, John. That's the only answer, because how in the world, if you're DeMaurice Smith, how in the world do you get that email in 2011 and read what he wrote about you? And not get upset in 2011, but then in 2021, when it's made public, you're over the top upset. I don't understand. It must have been hidden, like you're saying. It's got to be buried. Goodell, what he said about Goodell, maybe Goodell just shook that off. But I think when it gets racial, you react to that if you're upset by that. And for a guy to not react for 10 years, until it's made public, you have to believe that it was all covered up, and don't say anything. We'll bury this.
Right.
It's the only real explanation, because if I'm DeMaurice Smith at that time in 2011, I'm pissed off. Well, I'm going to say that about me. I mean, it's crazy. And for Gruden to type it and send it just goes to show, it's not like he was talking and it flew out of his mouth and he is going to take it back and he can't. When you actually type it, read it, send it, that's pretty much intentional. So, it's crazy.
And from Gruden's standpoint, you got to think you're untouchable if you're sending these things through via email. Come on, everybody knows Big Brother reads your emails. So,
Yeah, no, it's a bad situation.
Yeah, I mean, the truth always comes out. So then that's a fact. No matter what era, you can look 200 years ago, and things were hid then, and they're found. And it just is amazing how it does manage to work its way out. But you're right. It's just that is just beyond the word arrogant that you could think about writing that and then actually hitting send.
Right. I mean, I could see sometimes, some of these cases have been where people just start talking and they talk too much. I get it when it flies out of your mouth. But writing it, knowing you're writing it, and then you have the option to not send it. You have the option to delete it. So shame on him. I mean, for, first of all, thinking that way, and second of all, doing what he did. I don't think any of us knew the extensiveness of
no way.
The stuff last night. Then this morning when I wake up and I see all the other things that he, sent besides the one to DeMaurice Smith, it totally explains why. I thought maybe they would protest the Las Vegas game on Sunday, because Sunday we knew at least about the racial comments. But I got a friend, good buddy of mine, who went that day, and outside the stadium, it didn't look like there was any problem whatsoever.
Thank God for that.
Well, thank God they fired him, because they'd have problems at their next home game.
Yeah.
From a lot of groups. A lot of groups would have been there to give him problems. So, and rightfully so.
If anybody should just disappear for the foreseeable future, it's probably him.
Right.
Because that can't, if he keeps in the public eye, that can't end well. And I may totally soft in this comment, but I worry about if Ben Simmons does play in Philadelphia, that something just absolutely crazy will happen. Somebody will run on the court and try to hit him. I mean, I don't put anything beyond the realm of possibility.
Well, you have to figure arena security is well aware. I don't think anything would happen inside the arena. If something's going to happen,
that's true.
If something's going to happen, it would be outside the arena, I would think. But I don't know. Ben's got his own security on top of Wells Fargo security, and nobody's going to do anything to him on the road because nobody cares on the road.
It's true.
So the verbal abuse will be nonstop. You know how Philadelphia is, John.
Yep.
It'll be nonstop.
And he does deserve that Bronx boo. And I'm not saying he doesn't. It can't go beyond that, though. That's where I kind of. Does that make sense?
If he does play in Philly, if we get a solid sample size of, let's say, 20 games, a great prop bet, higher free throw percentage, home or road.
Yeah. It's not going to be home.
As soon as he misses one, out come the boo birds. They'll be unforgiving.
You might see the fans standing up to try to distract him like they do for the visitor.
For Giannis, it'll be like Giannis on the road.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then his own fans will be doing it to him.
Yep.
Anyway, enough of that.
Anyway, Ben.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens. It's going to start in a week or so.
Yeah.
But I think what Tony said is virtually right on the nail there. That he's got to get in there and at least be part of the team. I don't think he'll play. I think they will trade him at some point because it's evident he doesn't want to play for them. And players can mend a lot of stuff, but usually winning mends a lot of things. So, I don't think he's going to have the chance to win there. And we'll see what he does somewhere else. Who the heck knows? It's a crazy situation, isn't it? I mean, the Kyrie situation is just as crazy.
Yeah.
I guess they're going to pursue a trade for him now too.
That's mind blowing. I mean, it's just mind blowing.
These are guys that you just can't,
replace,
trade away. It takes forever to make a trade for people like that, for players like that. I don't know. I would say Kevin Durant and James Harden cannot be happy with a championship staring them right in the face, and this guy
won't take the vaccine.
Well, and I mean, if that's his personal view, that's his personal view. But he certainly is holding them back, and they got to do something.
Yeah,
they got to do something.
You can't have a guy just playing in road games and practicing when they're able to practice in their facility. It throws off any rhythm you can have. So I was surprised to hear from Steve Nash that that's what they were going to do, and I guess they thought better of it. And Deshaun Marks said, "No, he's not going to play unless he's vaccinated," which is fine. Like I said, I'm taking the shot. I'm giving my youngest kids the shot as soon as they're available. They're 6 and 9. But I understand trepidation of people that don't feel that way. There are just consequences for that, and
right. That's exactly right.
America in 2021.
Yep,
that's pretty much the statement that the Nets read today. That pretty much is it in a nutshell. We respect your, viewpoint, but just know that as your employer, we can't have you playing half the time for us and practicing whenever you feel like you want to practice. So Kyrie's had a lot of that along the way. They've exempted him on a day-to-day basis a lot of times. When you wonder why isn't Kyrie playing? Yeah, sure. Why isn't Kyrie playing for 4 games in a row? And they've let that go. But when it comes to a whole season, you just can't let it go anymore. You're an organization. Got to go. So we'll see what they can bring back for him. Again, it's not easy to trade Ben Simmons or Kyrie Irving. It's just not easy. You see how difficult it is for Daryl Morey right now? It's been 3.5 months.
Yeah,
guy probably hasn't slept very much.
I think Irving just sits out the season, and I mean he's untradeable. Like he's proven to be too much of a head case for anybody to want those problems. And if he wants to sit out the season to where we don't have these things, he'll probably want to play with his buddy Kevin Durant, and he likes Harden, and they can live without him. I don't see a trade coming for him, but he is wild enough from what we've seen that he'd retire and that'd be that. Go do something else. Go live on the Uncle Drew residual.
I think. Well, the NBA mandates it. I don't think that outside of New York or LA, he'd have any trouble being unvaccinated because the other cities don't have. The other 28 or whatever 29 NBA cities don't have that that mandate with the vaccination. It's New York City and it's LA, where he probably couldn't play home games. Anywhere else he could play home games, I think.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. If you want to make that move, it would have to be though for a team that is going to give you their own baggage. You're not going to trade somebody they're happy with for them.
Right.
It's not easy. He puts the team. It's a hard position that the team is in right now. Both teams are in tough positions.
Yep. So let's do our free picks. All right, John. I suggested till I put us off the rails here with these discussions, but they're fun too. I mean, they're controversial, that's for sure, and we don't need to hash it out every single day, that's for sure. But I will have my Iowa stuff for Jesse Schull tomorrow. Even though his official bet was Iowa first half, I might add.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, that is correct. That's what I've uncovered. But I'm not going to buy a shirt, man. I'll do something that embarrasses the crap out of me. Why did Clifford have to pick that game to get hurt? I'm kidding, of course. But thank God they have the bye. And for that team, that's probably a good thing. I haven't heard any update on how bad the injury is. But he's certainly, there's a difference between standing on the line, on the sideline, now looking like you're in pain, and then try to throw a football. And it looked like it was probably ribs, is my guess. But I guess we'll learn more by the weekend and certainly next week.
Yeah, they're tough. Time is the only thing that takes care of ribs, right?
And usually it's like, yep. And it's usually like a groin takes forever too. Hamstrings are the worst.
Right.
So why don't we start with you, Rob, and then we'll do Tony Mejia with your best bets, and I might throw in a couple prop bets because I've been surprising myself because I really don't analyze them. I mean, it's purely fundamental. There's really no player data that can really help. But anyway, why don't you start, Rob, and we'll go Tony, and then I'll end it.
All right. So there's not a heck of a lot going on tonight, but I'll go to the Dodgers-San Francisco game later tonight. They've chosen to go with Walker Buehler because it's now or never in Los Angeles. I don't know that when you're Walker Buehler, only 3 days rest will hinder him. I think he'll be just fine. I think what really comes into play, guys, is the way the Giants played that game last night, the way Gabe Kapler managed that game last night basically says, all I need to do is get us to game 5 with Logan Webb and the series is ours, because he went through his best bullpen arms to leave them unavailable for tonight. You're not going to come back with Rodgers after all the pitches he threw. You're not going to come back with your closer after all the pitches that he threw. Got a 5-out save. So the back end of this game is wide open for Los Angeles. I think full game, -1.5. I think they hit DeSclafani tonight. They're normally much better against righties than they are lefties anyway. Although Max Muncy not being there does make somewhat of a difference. But I think Dodgers -1.5 because it comes with a plus price. And again, thank goodness Tony Finn's not here to pull the Catholic nun stint and smack me with the yardstick for playing a home team run line. But I think that's the way to go here. I think that Buehler will be good. The Dodger bullpen basically was unused last night for the most part. Jansen did come in, Kenley Jansen came in the ninth inning and threw a few pitches and got an out. But the rest of they're about 5 deep. So I think they're good. So I'm going to go Dodgers. Full game, -1.5, +125. I just think that plus price is way too big to ignore in a situation like this. All hands on deck for LA.
Yeah, I like it too. Tony Mejia.
All right, well,
show best bet.
Let me see real quick what time this game is, because there's not a lot to offer because some of these games have started already. I see the Braves are scoreless in the second against the Brewers. And he just gave up Dodgers and Giants, and I have a play on that. It's a 4%. So I'm going to give you a 4% in soccer and pull out my American flag and say we like the United States tonight in a really important game against Costa Rica. And again, I mean, I'm no homer with this. And look, full disclosure, get the day that I've had so far in soccer. One with the Senegal this morning, 4%. One with Ghana this morning, 4%. One with the under in Ethiopia, South Africa, 3%. One with Oman, 3% over, 2% winner. Half win in Saudi Arabia, laying 3/4 of a goal against China. So that's a 6-0 start. Europe games come around. Europe game come around this afternoon. Lost with Scotland, laying 1.5 goals. They won by 1. Lost with England, laying 2. They tied against Hungary. Really disappointing result at Wembley. Lost on the over in Denmark, Austria, and lost with Israel, laying 2 against Moldova. They only won by 1. So I'm 6-4 after starting off 6-0. We'll hope to finish with a flurry, and this is a 4% play for clients. So anybody watching, hopefully you bring it good luck. United States laying a goal. And the rationale is this is the third road game, the third game in 6 days for both teams. The United States roster much younger. Costa Rica relies on a bunch of 30-somethings. This will be the second road game in that span. They haven't scored a goal on the road since 2020, and it's in Columbus. So that's the best atmosphere that we have in this country to win a home game. United States wins. It's going to be much better for their chances come November, because they face Jamaica and the Mexican national team, which is in first place. And then this will go on until the middle of next year, I believe. But the U.S. wants to stay in that top 3. Otherwise, Burkhalter, the head coach, will probably pay with his job at some point, and things could get dicey. So crucial match tonight. I was actually surprised to see them laying a full goal, but it just leads me to believe that, and maybe to switch it up, you might want to go U.S. at halftime if it's a draw, because I really think that in the final 45 minutes is where those legs will come into play, and I like the U.S. to win by multiple goals.
Yeah, I like it too.
Go U.S.
Baseball props. I had Scherzer over strikeouts, and Rodriguez over strikeouts. I'm sticking with that theme and going over 5.5. Walker Buehler strikeouts plus 100. I think that's a pretty darn good price. DeSclafani to Rob's pick on the run line with the Dodgers. He has one win against the Dodgers in his career. He's 1-8. He was 0-3 in 5 starts this year. That win came in 2014. The Dodgers will have 6 guys in the lineup that have exit velocities averaging 90 or higher. I wouldn't want to be Anthony DeSclafani. And I could be dead wrong, and maybe he'll be another poster child for how the Giants play and how they win when you expect it the least. But looking at, the eye test tells me that this should be like an 8-2 game, like by the 5th inning. So that is my my little prop bet, and then I had the Kansas City Chiefs for Sunday. So I guess that about does it. Thanks to everybody in the chat room. Thanks, guys, for your time. We'll look forward to doing this again tomorrow if schedules permit for you guys. So on behalf of Rob Vino, Tony Mejia, myself, and the great teams at wagertalk.com and sportsmemo.com, may all the wins be yours.